Hello, everyone. Today we're going to talk about feasibility study, and this is chapter 3 for 2211. In this chapter, what we're going to talk about it is we're going to look at the management perspective for making decisions. In the previous two chapters, we talked about some of the financial measures that we use, such as the rate of return, the payback period, the total cost, the revenue, the financial statements. So now in this chapter, we're going to look at this from a management perspective. So we're not going to do a lot of calculation in this chapter. However, we're going to make decision. So now you are a decision maker, and you've used the specific financial measures to make the decision. Now, in this chapter, the feasibility study is one of the tools that we use as a managers to make the decision of should we invest in that project or should we not invest in that project. So what is a feasibility study? A feasibility study is an intensive assessment of a proposed project, plan, product, or a new business. So it is an intensive. We need to bring as much as detail in the report, in a written report, so we could share it with potential investors. We could share it with team members. We could share it with managers. So we need to look into not only the financial aspect, but different aspect as well. We need to consider all factors that impact the success of the project. Again, the project, when we say a project, could be a business, could be a construction project, could be providing a new service or offering a new product to the market. So we need to look into the technology needed, the skills, the technical skills needed, economic in terms of the rate of return, the payback period, the legal aspect. We need to look into the government regulation, taxes, and approval from the city itself, etc. Operational, we need to look into the operation itself and the time, the schedule itself. So we need to look into technical, economic, schedule, and operational. Some of the benefits, some of the cost benefits, the analysis that we do, including the payback period, return on investment, and many others that we did learn in the last two chapters. And we're going to talk about the comparing alternatives. Sometimes we have different alternatives, different ideas, different projects. And now we would learn in this chapter on how we could select the best project for us. So let's take a look into, before we get started in the with the feasibility study, let's take a look into the cycle of project management, or the project cost management. Where do you think the feasibility study should be? The feasibility study should be in the planning phase. This is where, before we invest in the project, before we get into the estimating and budgeting and the cost control, we need to look into whether the project is feasible or not. Should we invest in it or not? Should we put our money in it? Should we put our efforts into that project or not? So it is in the planning phase. We need to consider the whether the project is feasible or not. So in the planning phase is where the feasibility study should be conducted at the early stages of the project planning. During the planning phase, you need to during the planning phase, you need to collect all details and detailed information about the proposed project to have an accurate feasibility study. So the more details, the more accurate you will have. Information can be collected internally or externally. Internally from the accounting department, asking them about the total cost, including the fixed and variable cost, or maybe surveying customers. So let's say if you're going to open a business in your area, before you do this, you need to survey a selected customer saying, okay, well, what do you think of opening a new grocery store in town? What do you think of opening a new photography business in town? Do we need an ice cream shop in town or not? So you send a survey, and let's see if the people interested in your business, in your project or not. So again, you could collect internal data or data from external. So why do we need to do the feasibility study? We need to find out of if this project can be done, if it's possible, can be justified, what other options do we have? So we have one current system that we're working with, current project. Do we need a better one, a newer one? So we'll give you the suggestion of alternative solutions. It will provide management enough information to know whether this project can be done, whether the final product will benefit its intended user, whether what alternatives do we have, whether there is a preferred alternative. Also, as I mentioned earlier, this feasibility study is basically a management tool. We need to look into the bigger picture of selecting an alternative, of selecting projects. So you're going to use this feasibility study as a management oriented activity, where after you do this study, once you develop the report, the final thing you want to say is go or no go. This is the decision that you want to make, to go with this project or not to go with the project. Need to examine the problem on the broader perspective. Again, this is a management decision-making activity. Do you want to look into different aspects, not only the financial, but also other things as well, to make sure what things needed. All right, now let's get into the report itself, what we should do in the report. By the way, this is your final project, or this is the project that I'm going to ask you for this class. I want you to develop a feasibility study for a business of your own, or a project of your own. By the end of this chapter, chapter 3, you will find information about the project. Please read it, and you are asked to submit a proposal within the next few days. All right, so what is the feasibility study? What I should include in the feasibility study? In the feasibility study, you need to include these sections. And when I say sections, these could be paragraphs, could be headings. So the first one would be the executive summary. You should provide an overview of the project. And in this summary, what you should include is what is the project, what the techniques that you used, where did you collect the data, and what would be the conclusion. And it is recommended to leave this section for later on until you finish the study, because it will summarize the whole report in just 200 words, telling the people, once they read it, what you've done, what is your project, what techniques you used, where did you collect the data, and what was the result of your study. Next would be the description of the product. That's the next paragraph. The next section of this study would be including the description of product or services, where you need to include a description of the proposed project, product, or services. It depends on what. And in this section should include detailed information on the most important aspect of the proposed project and expected benefits for the customers and investors. Section 3, you need to include the technical consideration, include the technological tools and resources needed for the proposed project. You probably want to answer these questions. Is the project possible with the current technology? What is the new technology needed? Is it locally available, or where we could get it? What is the risk, the technical risk of this project? What are the available skills in my team? If not available, can we obtain them? Can we hire new people, or can we train our current team? The next section would be about the marketplace. In this section, what you want to do, describe the current and future marketplace for the proposed project. It may include the information about competitors, how the project will be promoted in the new marketplace, and why customers might choose it over other similar projects available in the market. So that where you want to describe in details about the project marketplace. Number 5, marketing strategy. You need to describe your marketing plan and strategies to market your proposed project. It defines the unique characteristic, the target population, and marketing strategy to promote this project. Number 6, organization and staffing. Now, in here, we need to talk about the human resources and the skills needed for this project. and explain the needed skills, how many workers, what type of degrees they have or knowledge they may have, and maybe you need to hire new people. So this is where it's important to explain it to your manager, your management, say this is what we need, so they could consider hiring new people, provide training, or maybe outsource that service for another provider. The next thing in the feasibility study, you need to include the schedule. We need to talk about the timeline for this project, when you are planning to implement, how long it will take you to implement it. And there's no need to provide details here. You just provide just a milestone, targeted milestones where you say, okay, here's the phase. For example, if you are planning on opening a new business in town, you say, I need 6 months. On the first month, I will have to ask the people, that's the survey. The second month, I will look into a location, maybe in the downtown. The third month, I will proceed with asking the permission from the city. And then I will, the next month, fourth month would be just remodeling and designing. The fifth month, I will be stocking the products, and sixth month would be opening. So something similar. So we're not looking into the details, but at least targeted milestone to show me how long it will take you to implement this strategy or this project. Number 8, financial projection. Now, if you could look into how much this project will cost you, how much the expected revenue, and calculate some of the financial measures that we did talk about it in previous chapters, such as the ROI, the payback period, and the net profit, and any financial measures that you could include here. And maybe you could include, depends on what project you're talking about here, you could provide some financial projection for the next 5 to 25 years. Again, it depends on the nature of the project. And the last section would be findings and recommendation. What would be your finding and recommendation? In this section, you provide what decisions should be made. Should we go or no go with that project? So these are basically what are the feasibility study, what the report should include. I did provided more information about each section, such as the technical. You need to consider some aspect on here, so you could read it on your own, but I did explain to you what to include in your report. What also I want to do is I want to talk about the comparing alternatives. Sometimes when you are in a process of selecting different options or different projects, sometimes you get confused. Should I go with this project, or this project? For sure, I can't go with the 3 of them or 4 of them or 5 of them. I have to select one of them. So what we need to do, we need to select a criteria to use that criteria to select which alternative to go. So, such as this is an evaluation criteria that I provided for you: quality of output, easy of use, vendor support, cost of maintenance, load on system, something like this. So let's take a look into this example. So here's what the strategy that I want you to learn in this chapter. The strategy called the feasibility analysis matrix. And in this way, we could select the factors. What are these factors, the important factors that are important for me for this project? Maybe I need to have a higher rate of return. Maybe I need to have a less money to be invested upfront. Maybe I need to have a location is important for me. So you select the factors that are important for your project, and then you assign a weight for each factor. Say, okay, well, ROI is very important. I want to put a weight of 10 on a scale 1 to 10. And then you rate the solution for each factor. So now you have alternative project 1, project 2, project 3, and then you rate it and say, okay, well, based on this project, this is not going to give me a lot of ROI. So I'm going to give it score of 7 out of 10. So this way you could, rate that solution, and then you rank each solution, add the totals to find which one to give you. So let's take a look into this example that I provided you. This is about, you have a different suppliers to select from, and you've selected function, cost, service, technical assistant, and credit terms as the criteria for selecting. And once you looked into these factor, you said, okay, well, on a scale of 1 to 10, I will provide the function is more important. I need something to function with me, to be able to easy to work with. So this is very important. I'm going to give it 10 out of 10. In terms of the cost, yes, important, but I sometimes can pay extra money just to have the relationship. So 8 would be out of 10. Service, that would be also 8 out of 10. Technical assistance, I really don't need much of the technical assistant. I have my own team and I am very confident with my team. Credits terms, that's not important. So I'm going to give it 2 out of 10. So now we start rating these suppliers or these options, depends on the project. Project A, we say, well, in the function, they're not really good in functioning, but I'm going to give them 8. In terms of the quote, these are very expensive suppliers, so I'm going to give them 3. In terms of the service, they're not really into, they're excellent in service. That's why I give them 9 out of 10. Technical assistance, they're doing amazing. They have a really good team. So, but that's not an awesome team, but it's above the average. So that's 7 out of 10. Credit terms is 4 out of 10. So, I've ranked these suppliers based on these factors. And now once we rank these alternatives or suppliers, we multiply each ranking of the supplier by the importance of these functions. So 8 times 10, that would give you 80. And then 3 times 8, that would give you 24. And 9 times 8, that would be 72. 7 times 5, that would be 35. And 4 times 2, that would give you 8. Add these together and select the alternative with the highest score. So let's take a look into how we could apply this. Again, we could apply this when you have different options, different projects, and you select which options I should do. So I'm going to share with you an example from, you could apply this. What I want to say this, you can apply this in your real life, your personal life, by saying, all right, so this is an example that I give my student this morning, saying, here I'm going to select a car. I'm going to buy a car in the next 3 to 5 years. I want to buy a new car, maybe. Okay, and these are the factors that I've selected. I selected speed as an important for me. I need my car to be fast. I need my car to have a low cost. I have a limited budget here, so I'm going to go with a low cost. Big, I need my car to be big. Miles per gallon, I need it to be, maybe fuel efficient, and I need it to look nice. And I assigned these factors to each one of these factors. And I said, okay, based on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, I want my car to be really speedy, fast. So that would be 9. This is important for me. Low cost, yeah, I'm in the middle. Yes, I need my car to be not that expensive, so I could give 6 out of 10. Yes, I need my car to be big, it's average, so I'm going to give it 5. Fuel efficient, I could manage my daily usage of gas, so 5 out of 10. In terms of design, yes, that's important for me, and I need it to be 10 out of 10. So I've selected the 3 cars that as the options for me. I said, okay, well, car 1, let's say this is Ford F-150, and say, well, they are very, very fast, so I'm going to give it 8 out of 10. Low cost, they're, very affordable, so I'm going to give it 10 out of 10. Big, they're big, yeah, but maybe there are other cars who are bigger. So I'm going to give it 6 out of 10. Miles per gallon, they're not fuel efficient, so I'm going to give it 3. Design, I really don't like that design, so I'm going to give it 1 out of 10. So I rank the second car, the same thing based on a scale 1 to 10, and the third car based on a scale 1 to 10. And then what I want to do is find the total for these by multiplying the importance factor here times the each option to find what would be the total. Do the same thing for option 2 and option 3. And then once you look into the total, you find that this would be has the highest score, and then therefore you could go with option 3. So that's all about the feasibility study. We've learned about selecting options. I want you to go to the D2L, explore the templates. There is a template that I provided for you. Use that template. There's more information with example about the feasibility study. How would you develop a feasibility study? Please read it and let me know if you have any question. Thank you.